This year, when that question was asked, the response was unanimous and overwhelming. And that Rupert Richardson come and speak a few words to you. So I would like to invite him over here to do that.
Thank you. I was actually sitting there hoping Francine's songs would never end for two reasons. One, because Eddie wasn't speaking next, but also because they're so beautiful. Thank you, Francine. So as I stand up here and open up the speech that I prepared, I realized that this morning everything's been said by our elders who had opened up, by our keynote, Verna, so I guess plan B. Everybody's bad, everybody's tough. How many people are intelligent? Yo, excess. Ilakas la masculine. Rupert Richardson. Kaikunla. Guskimuk Glunuhok. Ilakas. So, my name is Rupert. I'm from Quatsino, Nuhok Nations. I'd like to thank the Musqueam people for having us on their land this morning. So I'd like to start by acknowledging that we're on the traditional, unceded territory of the Musqueam people, and thank Larry and Rose for welcoming us this morning to their people's lands. It's okay, I may not use this, I'm just going to see it. So can everybody hear me still, or should I? No? I guess my long-nosed voice needs some work still. So it is always good to be on Coast Salish territory. I'm blessed and honored to be given the privilege of sharing some words with you all today. Family, friends, colleagues, teachers, your presence is required today to be witnessed and celebrate with the Aboriginal graduating class of 2011. This day would not be possible if it weren't for all the people currently sitting in this room. Thanks to those who have traveled far and for those who call this place home. Thanks for joining in on the celebration and helping to continue the story of our people. We have a long and powerful history of being a strong nation, rich with tradition and culture. At this time, I would like to thank the living beings, our family, our strength, those who have seen much change since the arrival of the first settlers. Those who I'm speaking of are still with us, alive and well, so now I would like to take this time and recognize the land. Because this is where we come from, and as nations, we are people of this land. I would like to acknowledge the water, mountains, trees, and the air we breathe, each of these gifts from the Creator. Without these gifts, we would cease to have life. The land allows us means for survival and will continue to be one of our greatest teachers. We have a reciprocal relationship to this land, as it gives us our livelihood, and we must remember to do our part in caring for this beautiful giver of life. Quatsinis, Hereditary Chief Edward Moody of the Nuhok Nation, said this: "We must protect the forests for our children, grandchildren, and children yet to be born. We must protect the forests for those who can't speak for themselves, such as the birds, animals, fish, and the trees." I've learned that only when respect is given, that respect can be received. The trees, water, and mountains, all of which have a story to tell. A Cree roadman, self-proclaimed 7-time middleweight champion of the world. I think it's more like heavyweight, but that part's not important. He told me this, that a story told without love will not be remembered. So that brings us to the story that is unfolding in front of us all today. This story didn't begin today, rather it started many years ago. At this moment, you are all witness to this momentous day, At first, for many people and their families, and for others, you may be the second generation of university grads. We are united today while acknowledging the years of dedication, trials, and successes of these leaders and their families. This ceremony is one way that our people pass on our traditions through story, songs, prayers, laughter, and food. You are all here as witness today and must remember the onus is on us to continue this story, to share it with the future generations and your children, family, communities, so we can carry on the traditions of celebrating our graduates, our future leaders, our children, walking through those doors year after year. The story began well before those sitting behind me breathed their first breaths. To the generations who have gone before us, we shall remember them now. Some of them are in this room, and some of them and others are here only in spirit. Our people, community, family, and leaders who have endured much so that we could be in this position. As Aboriginal graduates, I'm talking about those who went before us and broke ground. Our grandparents, parents, sisters, brothers. As Indigenous people, we're extremely fortunate to have this opportunity. This position of privilege that so many other Indigenous peoples in this world can only dream of. During the 50s, it was illegal for any Aboriginal person to attend a place of higher education. We were not welcomed in institutions such as this one. Now, only 2 generations later, we have this group of Indigenous scholars, educators, lawyers, teachers, scientists, many of whom finished at the top of their class. This wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for the generation who sacrificed and paved the way for those sitting behind me and for those who have yet to arrive. I've heard it take 7 generations to break a cycle. We are the 3rd generations of Indigenous peoples to attend university, and I tell you today that within 7 generations we'll have created a new cycle. One where all our children will be walking through open doors of all kinds. What you see today is proof that what our elders fought for was not in vain. Many of our grandparents were the first to attend any formal Western school. Many of our parents were the first to finish high school or ever attend university. These people were the first in our communities to be viewed as teachers, lawyers, doctors, scientists in the Western world's eyes. But as Aboriginal people, we knew the laws that governed our societies. Traditionally, all people were teachers. We learned the most from each other, and we've been practicing medicine for thousands of years. And what the present Academy labels science, we have called the way of life. As people who view the world differently than our non-Aboriginal sisters and brothers, as people who view the world differently than our non-Aboriginal sisters and brothers, our stories are often told in ways that only make sense to our people. The story I'm going to tell today will take us through the time of past and present. As Indigenous people, we are not the first to know oppression or colonization. Here's a quote from one of my favorite songs. If you know your history, then you know where you're coming from. For us as Aboriginal peoples, this is where we gain our strength. Remembering those who have gone before us will allow us to find refuge and to be a place to continually gather the strength that is needed to continue on this journey, this story. We currently have thousands of years of history and teachings in this room right now. What our parents taught us is a part of who we are. What our grandparents taught our parents was what allowed them to be who they are. And the traditions and teachings that we know today go back hundreds of generations. 100 generations is still only 2,500 years. A relatively short time when thinking of our people's long history on these lands. As people of this land, we have thousands of years of history to draw upon for strength, to push forward, to persevere for our future generations of children. My granny, the Tupsa, was told by her granny, "You're a chief, walk like a chief." Grads, we are powerful people. Let's walk like powerful people. Within this power, we must remember that within our societies, it was always about how much we can give. Our wealth was not measured in how much we possessed, but in how much we were able to give back. So grads, when we go out into the world, let's not see how much we can take from it, but how much we can give back to our communities, to our families, to our people. We do have many challenges in front of us, and it's a full-time job being Indian. My granny told me she's only going half-time this year. However, it's in our weakness that we'll find strength. It is through the challenges that we'll continue to become empowered, and without these teachings and resilience, our people would not be around today to continue this story. Nothing that I share is new, it's all been said before. I'm in no way going to reinvent the canoe, but what I'd like to do is jump in and enjoy the ride. Think back to a time, grads. You're probably crying. Your parents are telling you, I know it's scary, but I'll be waiting right here at the end of the day to pick you up. I'm talking about that first day of kindergarten. So I'm going to tell you, remember back in kindergarten, thinking, how are we going to get through this day? Those we trusted leaving us for the day. But you know what? We made it through those years. We made it into grade 7, eventually high school, grade 8. And before you knew it, we were graduating high school. But grads, for us, that was only the start of our journey. And we finished that first year at university, and probably there was nothing harder in our lives, academically at that point. But we finished, here we are all today. Now looking back to those first years of school, elementary, kindergarten, was a breeze. High school, well, it was rather elementary. And university, there's challenges, but looking back, it was all great times. Probably some of the best times in our lives. Oh yeah, look. Our last day of school. And look who's here to meet us once again. Who would have thought? Kindergarten all over again. Upon reflection, I'm always amazed at the cyclical patterns that our lives take. Grads, those first year of school, we all started out afraid. Unsure how we would do when leaving our parents. And now I see that has changed, as you all grew into the confident, courageous people who are sitting on the stage right now. A few have already, and others will, one day be able to share our experiences, our strength, and our hopes with our children and tell them, I'll be waiting right here for you after their first day of school too. Our mind is a brilliant creation, something that cannot be duplicated. Quite often it creates challenges for us. Challenges that we can overcome. These challenges give us strength, and they have allowed us to grow into the solid citizens plus that you see here today. It is these challenges which continue and allow for our growth. In life, when challenges and learning cease, we will then only be here in spirit too. Grads, studies show that 10 out of 10 people will die. So don't hold back and wait for the next life. Continue to take action in creating your destiny. The late, great Chief Dan George said this in his address to Canada during his 100-year celebration. I shall grab the instruments of success, education, skills, and with these new tools I shall build my race into the proudest segment of society. I shall see these things come to pass. I shall see our young and our leaders sitting in the houses of law and government, ruling and being ruled by the knowledge and freedom, ruled by the knowledge and freedom of our great land. Shall the next 100 years be the greatest and proudest in the history of our tribes and our nations. Now, graduates, it's your turn. I'm going to list a few of the many, many great things that these people behind me are doing. I have extreme admiration for those parents who are up here graduating. Victoria, Roxy, Susie. Not only setting the example for their children, but willing to teach the future leaders, and doing so by example. Ladies, being a full-time student, parent and Indian, that's 3 full-time jobs. Then there are those who are working with the elders in their community, Jordan, making sure that their knowledge will be shared and passed on to the future generations, and keeping the tradition so full of life. I see students up here. I see students up here helping other Aboriginal students navigating through this new world. Derek, Aboriginal Academic Advisor, not here. There are many different nations of people gathered up here, and then there are those up here gathering many nations of people on a global scale. Maya. I hold each of you up here in the highest esteems, and my heart is filled with admiration for all of the Aboriginal graduates this year. Just by being here, grads, you're doing your part in bringing positive changes to our communities, families, and the people whose lives you'll be affecting. I cannot wait for the 25-year reunion to see how profoundly each of you will have changed this world. When I see those up here leading by example, I already envision the next generation with hundreds, thousands of students walking like powerful people right through the doors over there. I would like to share a short story involving my sisters and my mother. I'm the first person in my family to graduate university. Currently, my mom and 2 younger sisters are attending Vancouver Island University. Nicole, my youngest sister, who's now 6 and 5 years old, says, "Mommy, what university am I going to go to?" A few months go by, she tells her mom, "Mom, I think I'm going to go to BIU like you and the girls." When I hear that, I know that what I am doing is the right thing for myself, my family, my community. Upon hearing this, I immediately asked to talk to her. I said, "Nicole, so you're going to university?" She said, "Yeah." In that little cheeky voice she does so well. So I said, "Nicole, do you know where I go to university?" She's like, "Yeah." "You go to CIBC." Please continue to carry on the story of our people in everything you do. Do all things in love and share your story, because you never know who's watching and whose life you're going to change by being the excellent examples that I see up here today. It is now time for you to take your story, grads, and share it with the world. Congratulations, graduating class of 2011.